Welcome everyone. So I think we will start the session. I just want to say Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone, all the youth who are joining us from around the world across the 5 continents for the world's first ever virtual youth festival. So as I mentioned, we are in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. The sun is shining and my name is Julia Govindan. I'm the CEO of United Through Sports. So I'll be the moderator for today. And it's an exciting session where we will be discussing inclusion. It's the inclusion revolution and global values. So anybody who's joining us who needs translation, please go down to the bottom, the toolbar and click translation. And to all the youth and adults, get comfortable, get ready. We are joined by some amazing, amazing speakers today from the Olympic, the Paralympic and Special Olympics movements. So this workshop, as I mentioned, is focusing on inclusion. What does inclusion mean to you? What does it mean to be more inclusive? How can we make the world a better place? So this workshop today is inviting you to share your views, introduce yourself, and feel free to ask any questions that you want. If you're taking pictures, that's excellent. We welcome any selfies. And of course, if you're uploading on social media, use our hashtag United, the number 4, the future. So without further ado, and before we meet our wonderful speakers, I want to officially open this session of Inclusion Revolution and Global Values. And we have a special message that I want to share with you. This message is from a girl who is all the way in England. Her name is Harmony Rose Allen, and she recently won the Pride of Britain Award. And she is a very, very treasured member of the Paralympic family. So I'd like to share the message from her with you all now. Okay.
England. I am a gymnast. Hello, my name is Harmony and I am 7 years old. I live in Bath, which is in England. I am a gymnast, I am a swimmer, and I am a gold medal winner. You have asked me to talk about inclusivity. When I'm included, I am at my happiest. It allowed me to be who I want to be with no one standing in my way. I believe that we can achieve anything because we're all winners in our hearts. We are all champions in the whole world. Everyone should be who they want to be because I don't see you any different, so you don't see me any difference. If we all be kind and think about others, we can all embrace each other and it will make the world a better place. My plea today is for everybody to be equal and encouraged and not judged when things are difficult. Let's embrace and accept our differences. Let's make this change now.
So there you had it. There was our wonderful Harmony. We absolutely adore her. She's been involved in a few of our events. Please follow her on social media. She has an Instagram, Facebook, and everything else. She's called Hope for Harmony. So definitely watch her inspirational journey. So now I would like to officially introduce all our amazing speakers who are joining us. And it's my honor to first introduce the board of Saudi Arabian Olympic Fencing Federation. She's fantastic. She's very motivated, magnificent. Please welcome Lama Al-Fazan. Hi, Lama.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Welcome, thank you so much. And we also have another special guest from the States. We have the magnificent who is on the board of directors for Special Olympics Australia. He's also an athlete and he has a long, long list of roles. So welcome.
Thanks, Julia. Good evening, good morning, and good night to everyone.
Welcome, Ben. Thank you. A wonderful, wonderful the Paralympic movement. She's a swimmer. She's from God in the Rising Phoenix on Netflix. Very humble, absolutely phenomenal. One and only Ellie Cole. Hi, Ellie.
Hey, Julia, it's wonderful to be here. I'm very excited to hear everybody's stories today and to share a little bit of mine as well.
Likewise, Ellie. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And we have, last but definitely almost not least, we have a gentleman who is from the Paralympic movement as well. He works very closely with Ben. He's been working with us for a few years now, and he's the Senior Director of the Sport Development for Special Olympics. Hi, Jean-Paul, how are you?
Hey, Anne, how are you? Looking forward to hearing everybody's stories today. Thanks for including Special Olympics in this. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, last but not least, this gentleman is always considerate. He has the kindest heart. He's very passionate about his work, extremely talented. And I would like to welcome Craig Spence, who's the Chief Brand and Communications Officer at the IPC. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to speaking to everyone today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining. So you've met our lovely speakers, everyone. And what I would like to now do is start off by handing the floor over to the Special Olympics. They're going to share with you about what inclusion means to them and share what kind of work, projects and initiatives they're doing. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Jean-Paul and Ben Hack. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julia. I'm going to share my screen here. 1 second. Just trying to get that into you see that all right?
I can see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it into the cursor keeps disappearing here, sorry.
No worries at all.
All right, super. I think we're all set. Well, thank you very much. What I'd like to do is introduce a little bit about who we are as the Special Olympics organization. And then I'm going to turn it over to the star of our show, which is Ben, to talk a little more specifically about what inclusion means to Ben. So quickly here, we'll go through what Special Olympics is. I wanted to introduce you to our founder, Ms. Eunice Kennedy Shriver, who's really a pioneer and not only in the rights for, and the struggle for rights for people with intellectual disability, but also in the use of sport specifically for development. Mrs. Shriver had a sister, Rosemary, who had an intellectual disability and saw firsthand some of the injustice towards people with ID that motivated her to start a movement. So it started in Mrs. Shriver's backyard. She believed that people with intellectual disabilities were given the same, if given the same opportunities and experiences as everyone else, they could accomplish far more than anyone ever thought possible. She put that vision into action in 1962 by inviting young people with intellectual disabilities to a summer camp she hosted in her backyard. She called it Camp Shriver. The goal was to explore the children's skills in a variety of sports and physical activities. And the idea behind that first Camp Shriver began to grow. In July of 1968, the first International Special Olympics Games were held in Chicago, Illinois, USA. What began as one woman's vision evolved into Special Olympics International, a global movement today that serves more than 3 million people with and without intellectual disabilities in 200 countries. So this is our mission statement. The mission of Special Olympics is to provide year-round sports, training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic type sports for children and adults with intellectual disabilities, giving the continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participate in the sharing of gifts, skills, and friendship with their families, other Special Olympics athletes, and their community. The Special Olympics mission remains as vital today as it did when the movement was founded in 1968. Special Olympics strives to create a better world by fostering the acceptance and inclusion of all people. Through the power of sports, people with intellectual disabilities discover new strengths and abilities, skills, and success. Our athletes find joy, confidence, and fulfillment on the playing field and in life off the playing field. They also inspire people in their communities and elsewhere to open their hearts to a wider world of human talents and potential. Our work. So our work is centered in 4 different areas: through programming in sports, health, education, and community building. Special Olympics is tackling the inactivity, stigma, isolation, and injustice that people with intellectual disabilities face. Our work starts with sports training and competition on the field, but is driven to impact social change that enables full social participation for people with ID off the field. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a scope and scale, and also kind of show the devastation of the pandemic in terms of our movement goes. So if you look on the red area here in sport, you can see that currently we have over 3 million athletes with and without intellectual disabilities participating in Special Olympics. And then you'll see a number of these black arrows pointing down. So it's a pretty significant hit for us in terms of being active and being out there. Our hope is we're going to build back better here. But we're no different from any other sport organization here, struggling to get back on our feet from the last couple of years. I wanted to talk a little bit about our unified sports program here. You can see that currently we have over 1.2 million participants in that. Unified Sports is our program where we compose teams of people with and without ID on the same team to build friendships and build social inclusion off the field of play. Currently, we have about 30,000 competitions. That's 82 competitions a day, but again, down significantly, 74%. Moving towards the bottom, a really good trend here has been the work and being embraced by the international sport community as we continue to build our sport partnerships, both at the international, regional, and national level. So that's the one plus side here is we've seen an increase of 63% in the last year. And some of the other areas, you can see that last year we were able to do 15,000 health screenings at our events. We trained 51,000 athlete leaders and 74,000 youth leaders to advocate on behalf of the organization. And we've conducted unified sports in over 46,000 unified schools across the globe. So that's a general overview of Special Olympics. And now I'd like to get into my discussion with Ben. So Julia did a brief introduction of Ben, but I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit more about himself. But Ben has served many different roles in Special Olympics. He's an accomplished footballer and cricket player. He's served as a coach. He's been an advisor to the International Board for Special Olympics, and in addition to serving many roles at the national level as well and the regional level. So Ben, how are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Did I hear you say earlier that you got a little bit of a storm going through there in Australia today?
Well, it was kind of getting a little bit interesting about 10 minutes ago, but it seems to have died down. Okay, super. Well, let us know. We'll keep an eye on your connectivity there. So Ben, the first thing we want to do is talk about, tell the audience here about how you got involved in sport initially. Yeah, so my journey's been a very interesting one. I think I first started doing fine and gross motor skill activity sort of training, not through Special Olympics because I wasn't diagnosed at that point, but I did that through public health. So I did that for 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I started, just doing what was particularly back then very common, probably not quite as common these days, unfortunately, which is I was just out there playing sport at school, playing sport at home, which is a very traditional Australian sort of lifestyle. My first sport that I kind of started to take it up at a sort of organized way with soccer. But the sport that been cricket, and I've been playing cricket at a competitive mainstream level for 25 years. I've also played soccer for a lot of years as well. I've also played AFL, touch football. Yeah, I've done quite a number of different sports. Through my roles in Special Olympics, I've done quite a lot of roles. I've been a coach. I've been a consultant. Recently, I'm starting to develop a competition structure in my local level. Yeah, on the Gold Coast, I've been a board member. But yeah, so I've had a variety of roles in this sort of space for quite a long time.
Fantastic, Ben. It sounds like you got a passion from a very early age, which is great. So what we wanted to talk a little bit too is how you first got involved with Special Olympics, and maybe you could elaborate within that experience on how that shaped your journey to be included and lead a life with an inclusive mindset. So maybe you could talk about your involvement with Special Olympics, and then give us some of your thoughts on inclusion, what it means to you.
Yeah, I essentially found, well, my mother found Special Olympics right around the time when I got diagnosed, which was about 16, with autism level 1 or high functioning autism, or there's a variety of other names. But what she did is she basically went on a journey, which is still a very common situation these days, because there's still not a lot of, as much as there's systems, there's still not a lot of actual knowledge that people know where to go. So she just went around looking around, trying to see what could be available for me. And she found a disability organisation called Gold Coast Recreation and Sport. And this organisation supported Special Olympics, has for years. So I started off in the local soccer program. In terms of what this movement has given me is everything. I mean, I've got a life now. I'm now a functioning human being, and the reason why I have an inclusive mindset is just probably a combination of things. I mean, I think my background in terms of how I grew up and all the challenges that I've had. I think also the combination of being in Special Olympics and seeing the impact it's made on me and the impact on others, and is kind of like motivated me to really go out there and try and lead to create better communities through action, because I can see the value of it and the importance of it.
Fantastic, Ben. And you definitely have taken your lessons that you learned through sport and have been looking for ways to apply that in different areas. And I think when people talk about thinking globally but acting locally, you have some really good examples of that. And I wonder if maybe you could share a little bit about some of the work you're doing there on the Gold Coast with your football league, your inclusive football league.
Yeah, I mean, this project's taken years for it to actually land on something. It took, I went around talking to local football clubs for a whole number of years, trying to motivate them to, start, running some inclusive training programs. That was the first thing that I started with. And eventually we got about 3 clubs that were interested. But I found a real champion, particularly in the last couple of years, which was an ex-Socceroo named Michael Thwaite. And and him and I have kind of really worked together on eventually getting those 3 clubs and Special Olympics to run a football competition this year, just to kickstart things. The plan for that, moving forward, and of course, with COVID, who knows, right? But the plan is to develop a football calendar where each club, hosts an event in the year, and then finally, and we did discover this, there is a really big Gold Coast football competition called the Gold Coast International Cup. They want to run a disability comp. So we're going to work with them to run a 2-division comp, hopefully if COVID allows us. And one of those divisions will be the clubs I'm talking about, and the other ones are going to be the schools that we're going to be talking to try and come down. So that's kind of the plan that we've got. And the thing is with it is, and this is a big passion of mine, is I want this concept to include all disabilities, all syndromes, all conditions. It doesn't matter whether they meet government classifications, whether they have the right intellectual quotient, the wrong intellectual quotient, whatever. I'm very passionate. I want them at that level to have something to be able to get involved in. And through the various concepts that are out there, like walking football, CP, visually impaired, hearing impaired, I think that, and Special Olympics, I think there's more than enough tools to be able to do that.
Excellent, Ben. Thanks for everything that you do and putting this into action. And what would your call to action to be to the youth that are listening in the call today?
I think for me, I really feel that this generation really needs to be about more than just posts, more than just about blogs, and more than just about campaigns. Because, we are living in such an era of social media. There's blogs, there's posts, there's campaigns every day of the week. Everybody can tick, everybody can like, everybody can accept. But at the end of the day, and this is a universal fact that I don't think is ever going to change, the only thing that ever matters is action. So I really hope this generation can be one of inclusive action. But what is inclusion? I mean, look at me. I have high functioning autism. Well, my disability doesn't fit in any systemically consistent way, according to the UN, the OECD, the World Health, and even, dare I say it, 20 years ago, there was an event that happened in the Paralympics where a team did the wrong thing. And I respect that and I understand that. But look at the damage that did. I mean, they didn't have a disability. And yet people like me still today have to face indifference because of that. Why I say that is, why do you guys have to be that? You don't have to be that. Be inclusive. Inclusion is not easy. Inclusion sometimes means tough conversations. Inclusion sometimes means change. I mean, look at the world we're living in right now, right? We're all being told we have to follow one mandate. But is that mandate going to fit everybody? I doubt it. So again, why, you're the next generation. You can be the next politicians, the next World Health, the next Paralympics. Why do that? And the answer to that is action. Volunteer. Come down and get involved in unified sport. Start a business, include people with disabilities. Be like Jamie Birame, start a unified PE program. That's the answer. And you guys can do that. There's no question you can do that. And you need to do it. And I hope the last 20 months has taught everybody that inclusion is not cute, sweet, and cuddly and something that makes you feel good. It's something that needs to happen. Because otherwise, what else happens? So, yeah. So thank you for that opportunity. And I also want to thank Stefan Fox, the IOC, the IPC, and everybody for this opportunity. So thank you.
Well said, Ben. So we're going to close out our session here with a short video. Hopefully this will work. Here we go.
We are not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters in rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Our demands are
equality,
dignity,
and the recognition of our shared humanity.
We will not stop or accept anything less.
We are deserving.
When we compete, we're fighting for a more inclusive world.
We are champions on the field and for this cause.
Today, our world is more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
Revolution is inclusion!
And it's not optional.
The only choice you need to make is how you'll join it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Ben, wow. Every time you join an event and every time we hear you speak, you have a way of not just being passionate and not just meaning what you say, but really bringing absolute value to all of our lives. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone that's here and everybody that will watch this session. You're absolutely right when you said and you spoke about inclusive action. We are 100% with you. We should be united. We should support one another. So thank you so, so much. For everybody who's watching, please feel free to write your thoughts in the chat. Share with us what you think about what's being said. This is a session for you as well to be interactive. And of course, we want to listen to what you have to say too. So without further ado, I would now like to welcome back Lama. And Lama is actually going to share with us a little bit about her story, about her involvement in the Olympic movement, and also about her journey as well. So Lama, please welcome.
Hello, thank you so much, Julia. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's changing times now in Saudi Arabia. When I first started to play sports, that was approximately 7 or 8 years ago. There were not a lot of female athletes. And today I'm very happy to say that we have more than 2,500 female athletes. And we have 25 federations where they have female national teams. And we have increased female participation from 4% in 2015 to almost 90% in 2020. So we are extremely proud. There are a lot of exciting changes. I'm also part of the Athletes Committee in Saudi, and this was a newly initiated committee in 2019. And we are basically the voice of all athletes in Saudi. So we also have a voice, and we can vote in the General Assembly, and this really reflects the Olympic values. And as we speak now, we are actually, as an athletes committee, we are working on a project to have athletes committees under each and every federation. So athletes are becoming more and more part of the decision making in Saudi. So we are very, very honestly proud of all of these changes. And we are very grateful, honestly, to have His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Faisal as our Minister of Sports. He is an athlete himself, and he understands all of the obstacles that we are facing now. And we are implementing, as we speak, a lot of exciting initiatives like Mahd Academy, which scouts young children from age 6 to age 12 to become elite athletes in the future. And we also have an institute that is being initiated. It's called the Elite Athlete Center, and it's basically a holistic approach to scout or to bring in elite athletes and to give them all of the tools that they need in order to achieve their full potential, whether it's strength and conditioning or sport psychology. And I'm very keen about sports psychology, because I believe that, you know, being mentally prepared is as important as being physically prepared. So we are providing, you know, the best atmosphere, the best environments for athletes to actually thrive, whether it's having the best venues, trainers, going on competitions, even being financially compensated. So there are a lot of exciting projects, and yeah, we're just very happy, motivated. I'm very optimistic, and I'm sure that the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Lama. Lama, if you don't mind, can I ask you, I'm really curious to know myself, and I'm sure many others are, how did you get into sports?
Yeah, okay, so I originally lived in France, and I saw the sports there, but I didn't really think that I could play it professionally. And then when I came back to Saudi, I was introduced to a group of young girls, and they said, if you would like to fence, and we just started to train, but it was nothing professional. And then step by step, we got in touch with the Saudi Olympic Committee and the Fencing Federation, and we started the first ever female national fencing team. And I was also nominated for the Rio Olympics in 2016, and we went on several local and international competitions, and the rest is history.
Wow. It's so impressive. It really is. Can I ask you another question? Is that okay? I want to know the sort of best moments of your career.
Best moments? Honestly, I think that I'm living now the best moments because I'm part of the board, but I'm also an active fencer. So it really gets me. I feel very emotional when I see these young female fencers, and I'm so happy, and I feel like we paved the way for them to actually succeed in the future. So I think that I'm living now the best moments to see these young girls, being trained as hard as they can. We have a lot of talent. We have a lot of potential. I know that we did not have a chance in the past, but mark my words, 5 or 8 years from now, you will see more and more female and male Saudi athletes that gain international recognition and medals. And yeah, we're building them. We are building the right ecosystem and the right infrastructure for them to achieve started. So yeah.
That is fantastic. We are all marking the word.
Thank you.
This movement towards physically active. Lama, what advice would you give to youth who want to get into sport? What advice could you give them?
Okay, I think the main advice that I could give any athlete is, no matter whatever environment that you are in, whether you have the best environment or you have the worst one, it all comes down to passion and the fire inside you, and being on training on time, taking your sport very seriously, respecting your trainers, having a sense of camaraderie and teamwork. I think this is the secret, honestly, for any athlete to achieve their full potential. You can go to training and go back home and train, just have a goal and try to achieve it.
Thank you. My final question. What does inclusion mean to you personally?
Inclusion means everything. I think you can. There is no such thing as a egoistic, athlete. You have to work as a team, and you have to give your best every single day, and you have to be mentally prepared to to win and to lose. And this is why I have to go back to the part about mental health. I think that it's extremely important for young children and teenagers, because you're at that age where you don't have a lot of self-confidence, or you're not sure of your abilities. So I think that, just having that mentality is the right way to go. So yeah.
So much, Lama. Thank you. I saw a lot of support and giving support as well towards the more youth activity, more inclusion. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you. Our pleasure also. So moving on, to the wonderful duo that is Ellie Cole and Craig Spence from the Paralympic movement. So the International Paralympic Committee is really taking leaps and bounds, and every event that they do is just more outstanding than the last. For me personally, it's always exciting, whatever they're doing, because you know that they're just going to bring everything, all that they've got. And they've very recently launched an extremely impactful, life-changing, world-changing movement, which they're going to talk to you about right now. So please let me welcome back again Ellie Cole and Craig Spence. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Julia. Good afternoon or hello, everyone, wherever you are around the world. We'll play the We the 15 video shortly, but I just want to introduce Ellie, who's with me today. So for those of you who don't know Ellie, she's a legend, a hero. She is a 4-time Paralympian, having first competed in Beijing in 2008. She has won 17 medals during those 4 Paralympic Games. She is Australia's most decorated female Paralympian. She's also a film star, having starred in a Netflix documentary, Rising Phoenix. And this week, she was judged by a magazine in Australia to be Australia's Woman of the Year. So there is the introduction for Ellie Cole. She is an absolute legend. Ellie, how are you today? You've been to the zoo, I believe.
I have been to the zoo and I feel fabulous after that introduction. How are you, Craig?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. I'm pleased to be speaking with you. Today I want to discuss effectively 3 things. What it was like being a child growing up with a disability, what it was like competing at the Paralympic Games, and then to touch on at the end, we'll talk about We the 15, a campaign we launched with many organisations just before the Paralympics. So for those of you who don't know you, Ellie, I mean, you had your leg amputated at a young age because of cancer, didn't you? Can you tell us what it was like growing up in Australia as a child with a disability?
That's a great question. For me, being in Australia, I always felt very included at my school. I think one thing that's really awesome about kids in particular is their curiosity in a way. When you're young, you aren't necessarily too afraid to ask questions, and you just walk around the world with open eyes and really do notice things that are different and aren't afraid to ask questions about it. And we do tend to lose that in our adulthood, and we've learned over time in our societies not to draw attention to people's differences, and that's disability included. But what I really love about kids is that they don't yet quite have that filter developed. They just say whatever comes to their mind, which I really think is fantastic. And it was very similar experience to when I was at school, is that kids surely did notice that I did look different, and asked a few questions about why I was different and what I could and couldn't do. And I guess after they absorbed that information, they just shrugged their shoulders and continued on playing in the playground and invited me along too. And that was really wonderful. I think just to address the elephant in the room. And for me, I think doing that very early on in school was very beneficial. I always felt quite included, and it was pretty hard, I think, maybe during my teenage years when I guess you do get targeted for your differences a little bit more. But if anything, I think being a Paralympic athlete and being somebody who has a difference did create some kind of tremendous resilience in me that I've carried through into my 20s. So although those years were pretty tough at times, I think I really learnt to fly by the seat of my pants and accept those differences wholeheartedly. And, we've seen how wonderful it can be for people to be able to accept what's different about them. We've seen that in the entire Paralympic movement. And we've seen how accepted that's becoming by the entire world as well. And people are really using the Paralympics as this wonderful platform to be able to teach the entire globe about what it means to be different and how wonderful it is to be different. So I'm very thankful to have been a Paralympian.
What's it like competing at Paralympic Games? I mean, you've been lucky enough to compete at 4 of them. and win gold medals and stand top of a podium. I mean, what's it like going to a games and winning gold for your country?
Well, I've been to 4 Paralympics and they've all been amazing. What you see on the TV and what you experience yourself as an athlete is very different. Like I said, I've competed in 4 games and every experience has been so different from the other. It's interesting, like whenever I think of myself as an athlete and reflect back on the Paralympics, for some reason, and I tried not for this not to happen, but for some reason, like the first thing that comes into my mind is the dining hall. It's this wonderful environment where you have every single food from every single country and you see the most incredible things in the dining hall, like people with no arms that are eating their meals with their feet. And it's a really great way for you to meet people from all across the world and just experience like hundreds upon hundreds of different types of disabilities. So like dining hall is great. The competition's obviously fantastic as well. But I think it probably, I didn't really understand the importance of the Paralympics. Well, I did in a way, but the true importance of the Paralympics until I was the Australia's flag bearer at the closing ceremony in Tokyo. And I remember being in this room and we had an athlete representative from every single country there, and everybody was holding their flags so proudly. And it was so wonderful to be able to compete in a sporting event again with COVID, but to also see a representative from every single country just putting their differences aside for a 2-week competition and just enjoying sport together. And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. So as I mentioned before, I'm so thankful to be able to have the experience of the Paralympics, and it means so much to me that it's hard to put into words. But competing at the Paralympics is also a lot of fun, especially when you win.
You mentioned there about the athlete village. I love the athlete village because I go from being the majority, not having a disability, to instantly being the minority. And all the athletes are looking at me going, well, that person's not got a disability, why are they here? And the roles are completely reversed from what society is. How important do you think sport is to driving inclusion, especially for persons with disabilities?
I think it's very important. For me as a young child, sport was a really great opportunity for me to, I guess, be able to test my limits and in a way equalize the playing field between my friends and I. For me, growing up with a disability and playing sports, it was kind of like just a way for me to test myself every single day. And then I guess for the kids that I went to school with, also see that I had a lot of potential just like they did. In terms of equalizing the whole world, we've seen the way that sport can do that through the Paralympic Games, just like I mentioned before. For me, I think one of the most memorable moments in Tokyo was seeing the 2 athletes from Paralympic athletes from Afghanistan who had escaped when their country had fallen. And like the whole entire world had rallied behind these 2 athletes to get them to the Paralympic Games. It didn't matter that they weren't from the same country as them, like everybody lent a hand to be able to support these 2 athletes. So to be able to have like a community that is that close, for people that you may have never even met before, but you just want to support them, is incredible. And I don't think that many other industries in the world really share that. Like I know that I can count numerous times where sport has shown the support from all across the globe, every single country in the world. But I can't really think of too many other industries where that happens. So I think that sport's very important in that way.
Well, because of sport, you've won many, many medals. Have you got your medals with you today?
I have 2 of my medals from Tokyo. I'm not sure how they're going to work with this background, by the way, is virtual. I'm not really at the Tokyo Aquatic Center.
What I want to do is, because there's lots of people on the phone on the call today who probably haven't seen Paralympic medals before. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for everyone on the call to take a selfie with Ellie.
I should have made my virtual background a podium so everyone could have stood on a podium.
What I want you to do, Ellie, is you could hold up your medals and then we'll give give some time for people to take selfies of themselves on their computers with you with the medals. And then people could share them on Instagram and Twitter using the hashtag United for the Future. That would be amazing. And then we can see people after this session around the world. So Ellie, if you could just hold up your medals.
Okay, that
There
sounds
we go.
great.
And then let's do 30 seconds, everyone. Get your pictures with Ellie.
So I have to smile for 30 seconds. My mouth is going to feel funny by the end.
30 seconds. Julia's doing it. I'm hoping people in the chat are going to do it. So
come on, Craig.
I'll do one. Okay, so after the session, feel free to share those on Instagram and Twitter with hashtag United for the Future. So sport, we believe, can play a huge role in driving inclusion. And we always say at the IPC, diversity is a reality. Inclusion is a choice. And it's important that people realize that. And earlier this year, together with 19 international organizations, the IPC, Special Olympics, Invictus Games, Deaf Olympics, and many other organizations launched We the 15, which over the next 10 years aims to be the biggest human rights movement for persons with disabilities. Because in this world, 15% of the global population, every 1 in 7 persons, has a disability. But very few people realize that, and the exclusion is significant in many countries around the world. So with Ellie and many athletes, we're aiming to change that. And what I want to do now is share with you the campaign film that we launched this August to kick off the campaign. So I will share my screen, and then hopefully you see the screen and we play the video. Just such inspiration. You remind me to be happy. You are superheroes. Really? Yeah, the superheroes were like for getting the kids out the door on time. We push progress.
And the pity tolerated. We're not special. That's not what it's like. And only when you see us. Wonderfully ordinary. Wonderfully human. Only then can we all break down these barriers. Keep us apart. That's 1 billion people.
Apologies if you lost the sound midway through the video there. That was myself I put myself on mute, not realizing it would cut the sound for everyone else. So apologies. Ellie, We the 15, tell us a little bit about the campaign and why it's so important.
Sure, I'm very excited by this campaign. So the IPC have launched the We the 15 campaign, and it is a global campaign. Not only is it global, it's going to be long term. So this is going to be a 10-year campaign for us to, I guess, represent the 15% of the people in the world that do have a disability, and to create more opportunities for those people. But for me today, I think what I want to speak to you guys about the We the 15 campaign is that, as Craig mentioned before, people with disabilities, they make up 15% of the world, which is where the We the 15 tag comes from. So that means that if you pulled together 100 of your closest friends, more than likely 15 of those people will have a disability. Now, I would hope that you wouldn't discriminate or treat your friends differently because they had a disability. You know, we would want you to treat them just like anybody else, which is what my experience was like at school. But I do know that that's not necessarily like that across the globe. So, you know, if your friend had a disability and needed help, you would be there and you would want them to reach their full potential. So that's exactly what we want, but we want that across the whole world. So this is a campaign that I'm very excited about. It's only just at the beginning. It was launched at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. And like I said, it's going to be a 10-year campaign for us. So it's going to be huge. Isn't it, Craig?
It is going to be massive. So far,
so big.
bigger than anything in the world. So far, we launched it in August. The video that you've just seen, partly with sound, partly without sound, has been viewed by nearly 1 billion people. The hashtag #WeThe15 has had 2.5 billion engagements on social media. It's pretty significant. But the key thing I think for everyone to remember today is inclusion starts with you. Everyone on this call can make their own difference in their daily life to driving the inclusion of others. Don't discriminate people because people are different, because difference is a strength. And Ellie is one of the greatest athletes in the world. She's Australian. She's different to me being a British person, but I don't discriminate against her for that. I love her for it because it adds so much value to the world. Ellie, any final thoughts before we hand back to Julia?
Let's just throw another shrimp on the barbie. We don't actually say that here, by the way.
Well, I'm sure you do sometimes. One final question. I've been following your Instagram account today, and you've been to the zoo and you've been petting many, many animals. Which was your favorite animal?
Oh, that is a really hard question. Well, I don't know if you know what a cassowary is. It's like a giant emu with a cone on its head. It was not the cutest, that's for sure, but it was the most impressive because it looks Jurassic in a way.
My word. Which zoo in the chat? Is one of the questions, which zoo were you at?
It was the Sydney Wildlife Zoo. Actually, my favorite animal was a little sugar glider, which is kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like a little rat thing with a long tail that jumps from tree to tree. And it was like the size of half my hand.
I am going to ask you one last question, which is not zoo related.
Okay.
You're in Rising Phoenix. You're in a film on Netflix, which is amazing. What's it like being a film star as well as
being a film star is pretty great. Actually, I was watching Rising Phoenix and there was a lot of family video in there that my family had provided for the producers and the team. And I saw this family video for the first time watching the documentary, but I was watching it with like billions of other people in the world. So that was a very unique experience. But it was wonderful to be involved in the documentary with, I believe it was 8 other athletes. And to be able to meet those athletes in Tokyo and just to kind of give the Rising Phoenix nod to each other. But I know that this documentary did certainly raise awareness of the Paralympic movement across the globe, but I think got everybody very excited for Tokyo. You know, as Julia said, every single games that we host in the Paralympics, it goes from strength to strength and more people want to get involved. And I think that Rising Phoenix catapulted that even more so into the stratosphere, because I think everybody that I know has a Netflix account.
Ellie, it's well worth a watch. So if anyone's looking for something to watch on Netflix this evening, I highly recommend Rising Phoenix. Stories of 8 amazing athletes, an amazing soundtrack, and Ellie's scenes where she's underwater holding her breath forever are pretty outstanding. So certainly worth a watch. Ellie, I know it's late with you. Thank you for sharing your story with everyone today. Thank you to all the team at UTS who worked hard behind the scenes. And Julia, back to you.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. You're definitely making us all want to come over to Australia, Ellie. Thank you so much. Again, we the 15, everyone who's here watching is here to stay, and we are standing united for the future to be more inclusive in any shape or form that we can. I want to take this opportunity to thank all our special guest speakers on behalf of the Riyadh Local Organising Committee 2034 and United Through Sports. The world does need our support. It needs our kindness, our consideration, and more than ever, you know, we can all do more. So dear audience, thank you so much for joining us, for participating. We know there is a few questions that were asked and we will get to them. and we will respond back to you all. Please feel free to reach out to us on social media at United Through Sports. Remember, if you're posting, use the hashtag United with the number 4, the future. Follow, tag the Olympics, Paralympics, and Special Olympics as well. Once again, thank you to all our speakers here today. And we will be right back in 1 hour for the next session, where we are going to meet 9 absolutely phenomenal youth ambassadors, and we're going to learn how they contribute to society. So thank you so much. Shukran, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.